Welcome to WION's Business Masters, the show where we bring you the pioneers shaping industries, redefining norms and setting benchmarks for excellence. And today we delve into the world of logistics and supply chain management. That's a sector that serves as the backbone of global commerce. And joining us is a visionary leader who has seamlessly combined tradition with innovation, sustainability with scale, and business strategy with a commitment to societal impact. He is Vineet Agarwal, Managing Director of Transport Corporation of India, a name synonymous with excellence in multimodal logistics and supply chain solutions. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure being here.
All right, so let's get right into it. TCI, it has established itself as a leader in logistics and supply chain solutions. I want to understand what values or principles have been key to sustaining this legacy.
See, the company originated in 1958, and one of the value systems that we carry across is something called CORE, C-O-R-E. CORE is customer focus, O is ownership, R is responsiveness, and E is empathy. I think these are the fundamental pillars of how our company has really grown and sustained itself over this long period of 67 years. We have not faltered in terms of our customer intent. We've not faltered in terms of how fast we can respond to customers, but with an empathetic view, as well as with deep ownership, is how we run our business.
All right. Now, sir, under your leadership, TCI it has ventured into international markets as well. What were some of the biggest challenges or learnings from this expansion, and how would you say you overcame those challenges?
Well, international expansions have been very limited. It's not that it's very broad-based yet. However, the most important factor that we take when we go for any new country is what does our customer want? How can we service the customer better there? So it's a follow the customer strategy, and we are able to provide them multiple types of services, multiple products, wherever we go and open offices. So it has been mostly in South Asia and some in the Middle East. But as we grow and as our customers grow with us, we are seeing that this need is increasing more and more.
Right, so let's also talk about green multimodal logistics as well. Can you share a specific example of an initiative where perhaps sustainability led to both economic gains and environmental benefits?
Yes, certainly. I mean, there is a specific customer that operates out of Gujarat. It's a chemical company. And they were transporting their, essentially their cargo chemicals via road in these small 50-kilo bags. So we came up with a very innovative solution where we were able to convert those 50-kilo bags into one jumbo bag of, let's say, about a ton. And instead of sending it in open trucks where there used to be damages and pilferages and losses, we converted them into containers. And we stuffed the containers, we used to lock the containers, and then move those containers by sea instead of road. Now, we know that the moment you move it by sea, the carbon emission per ton is substantially lower than road. So that is what really helped them to not just save on packaging costs, save on costs as a whole, and thirdly, bring down their carbon emissions substantially. So these are kind of some of the innovative solutions that we can provide because we have the breadth and the range of services in the group.
All right. And since joining TCI's board in 1998 and then becoming managing director in 2013, how has your approach to leadership evolved? Are there any moments that have fundamentally shaped your philosophy?
Well, I think the most important thing is how we work with each other in the company. And the fundamental belief around that is trust. Our ethos is trust. And when we talk to everyone in the company, we believe that they are empowered 100% to do what they want. As part of the company board, I'm not involved in day-to-day, but we have strategic teams that do businesses across the country, and they are responsible for all the decisions. So the philosophy around trust is what makes me feel empowered to do whatever I have to do from a strategy perspective, but at the ground level, we have the executors who are doing a phenomenal job. And I think it's not just when I joined the company or when I took up a position, but this is, again, part of the ethos of the group.
Right. And so that being said, logistics is often seen as traditional. It's seen as operationally intensive. How do you balance the need for modernization while, of course, preserving the core operational excellence of TCI?
It is becoming, logistics is fast becoming a very, very important subject. It has always been, but now it's becoming a boardroom subject more and more. If we think about, during COVID, for example, a lot of companies got disrupted because the supply chains got disrupted. Now it is important that supply chains become a boardroom subject. It is getting sexy again. So you see e-commerce today. E-commerce cannot run without having logistics as its backbone. So it is influencing everyone, which means there's a lot of dynamism that has come into this sector. A lot of young professionals want to get into the sector. And as an older company, we are also transforming ourselves. We do recruit about 1,000 people every year from different levels, from villages to towns to even MBA colleges and engineering institutes, so that we are able to then align ourselves to whatever is happening in the marketplace. Another example is cold chain logistics. It is a subject that post-COVID with pharmaceuticals and vaccines really picked up.
Right.
But QSRs have picked up. I mean, we all order food from outside, which means that there is a back end, the cold chain which is important to really ensure that you're getting that right delivery. Logistics is becoming a very, very popular subject now.
All right, as you mentioned, it's sexy again.
Yes.
You mentioned the pandemic, and I was just going to come to this. During the pandemic, how did you prepare your team to, of course, adapt to such an unprecedented challenge? And what lessons do you think from that period that you continue to apply to your strategy still?
The most important thing has been resilience. I think the fact that we have 1,400 offices across the country and business just shut overnight was extremely challenging. But we were able to align ourselves to whatever was happening at the ground level. If you remember that time, there were things that were talked about like essential services and non-essential services and so on. And we fell into the essential services area. We were able to provide a lot of movement for pharmaceuticals, for life-saving drugs, for oxygen, for cylinders. We did a lot of work around that time in that space. But what really came out was afterwards. Afterwards, when businesses started coming back, the teams came back, and we built a lot of resilience in the system. So any shock that happens now, I mean, today there are floods happening in some part of the country, or there's some other issues in some other parts of the country.
Right.
We are able to manage that more and more effectively.
Right. Mr. Agarwal, also I want to speak to you about Gati Shakti and Master Plan, and also advising Niti Aayog on National Logistics Policy. What was your key focus in these contributions?
Clearly, the most important thing is how can we bring down logistics costs in the country. It is extremely high. It makes our country uncompetitive domestically as well as for exports. To bring down logistics costs, one of the most important thing is to change the modal mix of the country. We move a lot of our cargo by road transport today, about 60-65%, and about 20-25% by rail, and about 5-6% by sea, and our rest is air and so on. This needs to change, because the cost of moving by road is the most expensive. The carbon emissions is the most expensive. So if we are able to transition from road to rail to sea, and a combination of all of these, we will see our logistics costs coming down. The second element is essentially digitization. How can we reduce processes? How can we create more transparency? And as much as possible, electronically and digitally. There's enough tracking and other things that happen. And the last and most important thing around Gati Shakti and other national logistics policy is clearly standardization. I mean, when we go across the roads of the country, you see different kinds of trucks. You don't see a standard look. You don't see, things are not moving in a standard manner. There's no palletization, for example. So these are the things that we recommended to, and they have adopted that in the national logistics policy, and these are things that are now underway.
All right. And how would you say your education at Carnegie Mellon or Harvard has really influenced your strategic vision at TCI?
Well, education, my personal belief is education is where it helps you to think differently, but also helps you to think collectively, in the sense that there's a lot of information that comes to you from as a business person or as any person who's is exposed to a lot of areas in society. how can you channel that information properly for your intent, for business or for your personal life? Education is what is primary there. I think irrespective of where I went to or what education anyone goes through, I think that if you're able to channel the information that we get in a proper manner and be aware of it, it's a big step.
All right. And with advancements in technology, you mentioned this as well, and evolving customer demands, of course, what do you believe will be the defining trends in perhaps the next decade or so?
In logistics, clearly the consumer trends are changing. We know that. We are seeing how we are consuming today. We are buying mostly from e-commerce or from other modes, which is very different from what it was in the past. So which means that supply chains and the networks around that will certainly change. The second is how India is integrating into the global economy more and more. The global value chains are integrating, which means that EXIM trade, which is international and domestic trade, will increase quite a lot. And logistics will be a very important part of that. And the third will be sustainability. Because today, every country, every company, every individual is starting to feel the effects of climate change.
Right.
So as we progress towards sustainability more and more, as we should progress towards sustainability more and more, it will get more and more important. And we will see a big drive towards ensuring that companies are using alternative fuels, are looking at decarbonization strategies, and logistics will be a very important part of it.
Right. And of course, talking about technology, AI, blockchain, they're revolutionizing these supply chains as well. Can you share a specific project where perhaps TCI has integrated these technologies and what the impact was?
Yeah, well, we do a lot of work. Technology for us is ubiquitous. We started, it's hygiene. We started off in the 70s with these big IBM punching card machine computers. And now it's very, very part of our daily lives. We use AI and, well, more like machine learning in areas like dynamic route planning and other areas. For example, if you have a truck that's moving from A to B, we are seeing that there are new highways getting constructed every day.
Right.
So that route is changing every day, literally. So how do you ensure that you have a dynamic route planning that's happening? And those are some factors where we are taking learnings, or rather the variables from the system, which could be traffic routes or the roads, etc., and compiling them into a model that is giving us some more flexibility in terms of how we manage our routes and ultimately help in reducing costs for our customers.
Right. And now through TCI Safe Suffer, you advocate for driver safety and inclusivity. What steps are you taking to improve drivers' lives, and how do you see this initiative evolving going forward?
Well, India unfortunately has the most unfortunate and really sad thought that most amount of accidents in the world, most amount of fatalities in the world. And we are trying to do a bit in educating truck drivers on how they should look at truck driving safety when they are on the roads. And Safe Suffer is one of those initiatives. We reached out to thousands and hundreds and thousands of drivers across the country, educating them about safe driving, not ensuring that when you're driving in the night, how to be safe, how to rest, not talk on the cell phone, for example, and so on. It is something that requires even more effort. And what we have seen is that behavior change always takes a lot of time.
Right.
And it is a continuous effort which we will look at. We also do AIDS awareness for truck drivers. They are very susceptible to AIDS because of there being a mobile population. So we have our clinics across the country where we again talk to drivers about all these diseases, as well as ensuring that they are, we check them for their eyesight, for example, and give them knowledge about how to be safe generally. So this is something, and of course driver training institutes on a continuous basis keep their knowledge refreshed as well as updated on what's happening in the way that trends are changing. Even fast driving, for example, today you have such good roads. If you start driving very fast over there, you need to be aware of how to manage speed, how to manage your tire efficiency. I mean, these are small things, but they go a big way in ensuring safety.
But it's really interesting to learn that the focus is on these minute aspects as well, perhaps ones that are overlooked often. That being said, I want to go back to something that you'd mentioned earlier. You were talking about trust. Now, my question is, how does TCI foster trust, of course, especially in a sector where relationships play a crucial role?
We've been in the business for more than 60 years. This is something we understand. We believe that when we are working with our stakeholders, whether it is our truck owners, suppliers of any kind, as well as clearly our customers, that there is a certain level of transparency that we have to bring to the table. And that transparency is something that we are renowned and known for across the country, because we've been always a fair company to deal with. That fairness, that transparency ensures that the trust factor is always held in the highest regard between all these relationships that we have. And again, the first relationship that's most important is the trust between employees. I think if that is high, the trust between the other stakeholders automatically increase quite substantially.
All right. So let's now switch gears. We've talked business. Let's talk about your personal interests and what you do to actually implement these strategies in an effective manner. Of course, this is a very demanding role. How do you ensure that you stay connected with your family, maintain a balanced lifestyle, a healthy work-life balance?
Well, it is the most important thing being having a healthy life balance. I firstly don't believe there is something called work-life balance specifically. Because when you're at work, you're giving 100%. When you're with your family, you're giving 100%. I think that is what makes a very big difference in your mindset when you are really talking about work. You cannot be on the phone when you're with your family. And you cannot be on the phone with your family when you're at work. So that balance, or rather that discipline, sometimes is critical. Other than that, of course, engaging more and more, being engaged from not just from daily workings of your family, but really feeling what they're feeling is also important. And being there wherever they need you, I think that also makes a big difference.
So just being present where you are.
That's right.
And also, you're a photography enthusiast. Do you find parallels between capturing moments and then leading an organization?
Somewhat. I think I'm not that good a photographer as my father or as my kids, but I think I'm learning, and I think there is some level of the way that one can capture certain art, whether it is through pictures, or whether you're capturing empathy in your own business. There are lots of similarities. It falls under the same right brain, I guess, intent. So it has been always fun to have such a hobby, because there is definitely a lot of connectedness.
And talking about that, you're also a long-distance runner. What role does physical fitness play in your overall productivity and decision-making, if at all?
Very importantly, I think physical fitness and being healthy is critical to mental health and well-being. I used to run a lot of marathons in the past, but I have reduced that substantially. But diet management, diet control in terms of what you're watching, what you're eating, as well as just be natural about this is important. And doing different kinds of activities, whether it is playing some sport or weight training or running, discipline comes into perspective in both these aspects. So I think discipline is something that has helped me tremendously, not just in the health perspective, but also in the business.
All right, and is there a destination that has perhaps inspired your perspective on business, life, otherwise?
No, not specifically, but we as a family also really enjoy going back to our roots, which is our village in Rajasthan, and we go there very often. And we're also trying to do some eco-restoration there as well. So it is very inspiring, because it's where my grandfather started. He originated from where there was no water, so he left that place to start a business in Calcutta. So you can see the challenges of a harsh environment like that, but you also see that from there comes opportunity. So it is a very, very, it's a location that we all love, and we'll go there quite often.
All right. And of course, let's now talk about advice to young professionals who want to enter this space as well. For young professionals who are looking to make a mark in logistics, what are skills or qualities that you think they should focus on early on?
Well, clearly, a practical mindset to things is very important. Common sense is very important because it is a business of common sense. You are on the road, you're on the ground, you have to react to situations, what's happening there. And simultaneously an open mind. Clearly, I think this is a generic statement, but it is important to really have an open mind because as a logistics company, we are national. We are not in a specific region. So if you are really providing services and really interested in nation building, because there are products that are moving from south to north, from north to east, and so on and so forth, it is one industry that really is involved in nation building from the essence of it. So I think we need passionate individuals, people who are willing to contribute to this larger cause.
All right, and of course, having seen multiple economic cycles, what advice would you give to business leaders on navigating uncertainty?
Some level of conservatism is important. I think when there are good times, because that's what will help you when you have the bad times. We always, and this goes to individuals also, we always think about savings when we try to think personally, that my income minus my expenses should be savings. It should be actually income minus savings should be my expenses.
Okay.
That applies to businesses also. How am I conserving for the future so that when I'm spending, I'm spending in the right place.
Right. And what's one mistake or misstep early on in your career that taught you an invaluable lesson, perhaps?
Many. I think as an individual, as coming and growing up in the company, I had a lot to learn from, because being an older company, we have and still do a lot of people who've been working for many, many years, 40, 50 years also. And so I've learned a lot from them. I mean, list of mistakes that I made are plenty. So really speaking, I can't recount them. But I can certainly say that I'm very grateful for the fact that I had the wisdom and the counsel of people in the organization to help me through that, navigate me through that.
All right. And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Maybe be a little bit more aggressive in business.
All right.
Contrary to my advice about being conservative.
Right. And what steps do you think companies can take to foster a culture of innovation in traditionally operational fields like logistics?
One is clearly get more and more younger people involved, because there is a certain level of thought process that they bring to the table which we might not. The second is experiment a lot. Let things fail, it does not matter, but keep trying something new so that there is innovation, because a service innovation is extremely different from a product innovation. Services need a little bit more groundwork, a little bit more testing, a little different kind of method of how to see that becomes a success. It needs a lot of different kinds of trials and tribulations. So clearly I think experimentation in building an innovative culture in different ways and means is very important.
And of course, in logistics, for example, there are so many stakeholders. So how can leaders ensure alignment and effective collaboration across teams? Because I'm sure that's an uphill battle sometimes.
It is, but again, if you come with a transparent mindset, whether it is today when we talk to our shareholders, the investors, we have a very transparent way that we present ourselves. When we talk to our customers, we do the same thing. So when there is an intent is clear cut that we want to serve you as who you are, it is not that difficult. We see that your reputation then precedes you whenever you're having that conversation.
All right. And as the industry continues to evolve, what's one change or perhaps an innovation that you are most excited to see in perhaps the next decade?
In our industry, lots of things. As I said, multimodal logistics is something that we are going to see dramatically change the face of logistics in the next decade and even longer than that. And then the new things that are happening, I think quick commerce is one that is really changing the way networks are run, supply chain networks are there. Again, consumption trends are something that is going to change a lot of distribution models across the country. So it's very exciting in terms of what's happening today from an infra perspective and from a consumption perspective.
All right, Mr. Agarwal, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey, your insights with WION's Business Masters. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And with that, it is a wrap. Stay tuned for our next episode where we uncover more transformative stories from industry leaders.